How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Today we're talking about UFC 315, the main event, Belal Muhammad versus Della Maddalena. I'm going to first go through what I scored each round and a little reason why, a little tidbit, and then we're going to go into the takeaways of this fight. So we'll start with the scorecard. I gave Della Maddalena round 1, 2, 3, and 5, and I gave Belal Muhammad round 4. So we're going to start with round 1. Jack very clearly outclassed Belal Muhammad. It was just kind of it was the feeling out process, but Jack really picked it up towards the end, and he was taking over that round. Belal didn't really have an answer, so I gave that round to Jack. The second round was closer. Belal Muhammad made it more competitive on the feet. He made it so it wasn't just a giveaway round. It was quite competitive. But still, I give it to Jack. I think that his strikes were cleaner. They were more meaningful, more impactful. So I give that round to Jack as well. The third round, it was kind of the same as the first round. It was clear. Della Maddalena took over. He put the pressure on Belal Muhammad, and he continually just outstriked him. And even if not on numbers, because I know some of the rounds, Belal Muhammad did technically get more strikes in. The strikes Jack was throwing were much, much more impactful, and it seemed like he was more in control of the fight. He was controlling the pace, controlling, the center of the octagon, and I felt that he won that round quite decisively. Round 4, I gave it to Belal. I think his striking, I think in that round particularly, he just got the better of him. He really gave it the go. He had basically lost 3 rounds, 1 close one and 2 pretty standout rounds for Jack. And he just decided, you know what, I'm just going to give it. And he just went for it. And he did fairly well that round. I think it was still fairly close. I still think Jack landed some nice shots. He landed some powerful shots and just cleaner shots. But I still think Belal, his activity and his combos there and his jab and his kicks, his body kick in particular, I think, kind of stood out in the round 4 there. I think that he won that round. Round 5, I think Jack clearly won round 5. I think there's parts of it that were competitive. The takedown, I think that Belal threw some fairly significant shots there. But I think overall, when he did get the takedown, it didn't really do much. I think that Jack just really poured it on there, especially right at the beginning. And right at the end, he really poured it on. I think he did a lot more than Belal Muhammad. There was moments where it was competitive, but I think it was a fairly standout round for Jack. I think that it was the most exciting round for sure. I think Belal was hurt multiple times in that round. I think that Jack really put it on him and started to land significant strikes and significant combos. And his boxing just looked sharp. I think that he left himself a little bit open a couple times there, and that's why Belal Muhammad was able to get the takedown there. But I still think overall Jack significantly won that round. All right, and my takeaways from the fight. I think that Belal Muhammad's striking improved significantly. I think that none of us really saw it coming into it. I don't hate Belal Muhammad, but I think that some of his fights are just kind of that same he goes for the takedown, holds on to him, lands some pitter-patter shots, and squeaks out a decision. I think in this fight, he really, really improved his striking. It wasn't the Canelo hands that he was saying, but I think that he really put it on in certain moments of the fight. I think that, especially in round 4, I think that Belal Muhammad made it competitive. I think that he really brought it. And it wasn't a blowaway fight. I think Jack clearly won, but I think that Belal Muhammad's striking just really, really improved, and obviously he's put significant work into that. I think specifically his jab was just super clean the whole fight. He was just landing that consistently, but I think where it kind of fell apart for him was his combos. His combos weren't very clean. They weren't landing. A lot of them were just hooks in succession rather than, throwing intelligent boxing combos. He did mix some kicks in there, some high kicks and some body kicks. I think that was smart. I think that Jack uses a lot of head movement. So, catch him off guard here and there. But I think overall, it was really good, but it just wasn't enough. I think Jack's striking looked unreal. I think it was really a masterclass. That classic striker versus grappler. And in this case, even though the grappler, had improved his striking, it just wasn't enough. I mean, Jack is a boxer through and through. His boxing is just so clean. He's not so much looking for all the power shots, but he's just cleanly landing, and he's constantly disrupting Belal's movement and constantly countering. At every moment that Belal wasn't attacking, Jack was, and he continued, and he shut down Belal's offense in a lot of the rounds, and really he made Belal go on the defensive until Belal kind of decided that, I'm here to fight, I'm here to win, and he just started to leave it all out there. But it wasn't enough. He didn't mix in the takedowns enough. He shot a few takedowns. Belal shot 9 takedowns, and overall, he only actually successfully got 3 of them. And usually in his fights, he's shooting for a lot more. And when he does get a takedown, he capitalizes on it more. He doesn't usually injure the opponent as significantly as some of the other ground and pound guys. But he constantly is moving position. He's throwing strikes, and he's just mauling them, right? In this fight, we didn't see that. Jack was able to stand up. His takedown defense looked excellent. Considering he was only taken down 3 times, and 2 of them were, basically at the end of the fight. I think that was significant. I think that Jack obviously has, good takedown defense. We haven't seen his grappling specifically too much, but his takedown defense was on point. He was able to just shut down a lot of those takedowns Belal shot and turn it into a punishment moment where when Belal would shoot for the takedown, Jack was able to hurt him and try to discourage him from shooting for more takedowns. Belal couldn't adapt as well to Jack's reads. He consistently, he's a boxer through and through, but he consistently changed angles. He consistently moved in different ways, and he consistently changed stances. And I think that Belal Muhammad, it just shut him down. Every time he would switch stance, or every time he would just interrupt his flow, he couldn't adapt to what Jack was doing. And a big part of Jack's game plan, as far as I can see, was to shut him down, right? With the activity, shut him down with, with his counter striking as his strong point. I think that Belal Muhammad wasn't able to really capitalize. I think that his activity just wasn't enough, and until it was kind of too little, too late. His activity in the first few rounds was, really not very much. The first 3 rounds, he didn't really do too much. He was throwing strikes, but he wasn't landing a lot of them, and the ones he did land didn't really have a huge impact. His jab was landing, but he wasn't really doing too much with it, and Jack was able to kind of counter a lot, even if it did tag him. I think it was Jack's activity that really helped him win this fight. I think his striking has improved significantly. I think every time we see him, he just looks better and better and better. I think, everyone already knows he's a good striker, but he consistently improves, and each win, is a bigger win and a bigger name, and it's not always in the knockout that we all want, but oftentimes it's just a super decisive performance. I think that Jack is a great fighter. I think every single time he steps in there, it's just better, and his activity really showed with that tonight. His activity was I think one of the leading factors to why he won. Another thing that played a super significant role in Jack winning this fight, I think, was his head movement. His head movement was on point. He was shelling up, he was turning, he was just evading Belal's punches. He was at the very end of the punches after where the snap would connect with him. And he constantly covered up. And every time Belal threw a big attack, he would retreat intelligently, and he would just cover up. And I think his head movement as well, Belal threw a lot of shots. Jack got out of the way of most of them. It was mostly textbook boxing head movement. He just constantly was just not there to be found when Belal would throw. Until round 4, I mean, he landed just a lot of pitter-patter strikes, but not very many significant strikes on Della Maddalena. Whereas Jack was just landing, at will to a degree for especially for the first 3 rounds. He was just, just striking so cleanly, so efficiently. I think head movement played a big part in that. The other thing that was incredibly surprising was Belal's willingness to just stand there and trade. He just stood there and threw in multiple rounds, particularly the 4th and the 5th round, when I thought, normally Belal kind of does his thing where he tries to take you down, and if he can't, he keeps you at the end of his punches, and he keeps you, always kind of moving. He's putting that pressure on you, and he's just basically trying to squeak out a win. But in this fight, it wasn't like that. He stood right in the center, and he just scrapped with Jack when you didn't really see that coming. He really brought it, and when he realized he was losing especially, he just went for it. He just stood there toe-to-toe with Jack, and even though he was the less superior boxer, he just stood there and threw and connected quite a bit. There's a few times where he landed, and I was like, he's definitely rocked Jack to a small degree, although Jack rocked him significantly more. But the willingness to trade was something that blew me away. And the last thing here is a question for you guys. Do you think Jack rose to the occasion, or do you think that Belal didn't play into his strong suits? Because he didn't wrestle nearly as much. He didn't use his striking to flow into his takedowns. And for a vast majority of the fight, he was just standing on the feet until he landed those 3 takedowns, most being later in the fight. So do you think that Jack rose to it, or do you think that Belal just didn't play into his own hand? Let me know down below, and God bless.